Awesome. I'm going to try and do this without kicking this light a bunch because I'm on the other side of it. And there we go. See what kind of trouble we can get into. All right, hey, thanks for everybody showing up to, it is the Thursday edition of Cast Iron IRL with your host, Honey J. Badger. I just thought I'd do that funny real quick. But anyway, hey, tonight we're gonna make a real quick, easy Italian pasta sauce called Weekday sauce. And this is a great one if you have, hey Rick, what's going on, buddy? How are you? I should give it a couple seconds. Hey Rusty, what's up, pal? Trying to find my live here on the, find out where I'm at here. Thanks Rick, thanks Rick. I'm gonna try and keep this fairly short and sweet tonight because I know that Cast Iron Chaos is doing his thing at 8 o'clock. He's rescheduled for tonight, so I'm gonna try and go in here and hit that. Oh, I gotta turn the volume down. Oh, I gotta turn my volume down. I'm gonna get that feedback. I want the feedback. There we go. All right, we're all set up. I got about a 10-second delay on my end of it. But yeah, I'm gonna try and keep this short and sweet tonight. Even though I'd already scheduled this, I did see that Cast Iron Chaos is doing his fruitcake tonight. So we are going to, I'm keeping this short and sweet. I've got pretty much everything made ahead. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make what's called an Italian weekday sauce. And this is more actually of a lunch thing than a dinner thing. But it's real quick, it's real fast. I found this recipe and kind of messed around with it because I have a lot of cherry tomato plants during the summertime. And this is the last of my cherry tomatoes. They've been in the freezer. I've been moving them around, and frankly, this is the end of those and my garlic from the summer. So that's so we're gonna get started cooking on that. Let me come in front of the camera here, and I hope everybody's got a good shot of this, but I'm gonna start out over this way, and I'm gonna have to move the camera over just a little bit. I'm running a little behind today. We had sick kids. I got a sick kid at the house. So I spent the day making homemade turkey noodle soup. I didn't have chicken, but I had turkey that was in the freezer from Thanksgiving, and I had to thaw that out, and I made turkey noodle soup. Actually, I could have done a whole video on that one. See what we got in here so far. Oh, we got Val. Hey Val, what's going on? Good to see you. Good to see you. But yeah, like I said, I'm going to try and keep this as quick as possible because this does take some time in the oven. Let me kick that on real quick while I'm thinking about it. We're going to take this up to 425, and it may seem like a lot of heat, but this cooks quick, and it's going to go in there. And the thing that's nice about this, now I'm using dehydrated herbs from my garden. Normally I use fresh herbs, like I'll cut off a few stems of oregano or basil that I have out in the garden from the herb garden. But I'm in Ohio, so that's long since passed. And we're going to throw a little olive oil in here. And like I said, so everything, this is kind of a different way of doing it for me too, because I'm not used to doing it this way. Usually I have fresh herbs, but what I do have from the garden is I have, what I've got right here is I've got a pound of hamburger that we're throwing in. And this is straight 80-20. Get this thing out of the way. Let that break that up a little bit. But yeah, this pasta sauce recipe is one that I found trying to get rid of my cherry tomatoes. And ever since I started making it, everybody at the house has really enjoyed this. And if you have a garden like me, or you just want to get a bunch of tomatoes because they're cheap, and this works with any tomato really. And in that container over there, I've got 2 pounds, almost exactly, of tomatoes that I had, cherry tomatoes that I had in the freezer. And the thing that I like about cherry tomatoes is that they're so easy to store. You just have to bring them in, you wash them, you let them dry on a cookie sheet. I don't know where my words are today. It's been such a busy day. But you just take and you store you wash them off really good, you let them dry, put them on a cookie sheet, dry, and just throw them in the freezer for like 3 hours. And then all you gotta do is throw them in a Ziploc bag, and you can weigh them out and portion them all you want. And they're that easy to store. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna start preheating this little skillet. We got one of the stars of the show tonight, and that is my pickle favorite number 6. Perfect little pan. And I'm gonna do some sausages. My daughter doesn't like Italian sausage, so I'm gonna cook that separately in this pan. And I'll just throw that off to the side once I get the pasta out and everything. Love these little pans, and if you find one, these are gems. That was featured in my commonly uncommon video that I did earlier. Yeah, Val, that soup, all I had left, I didn't have any chicken in the house, which is pretty unusual. I usually have a boatload of chicken, but I had nothing, and my daughter's been feeling bad all week long, and she did not. We have like cans of chicken soup, but that just doesn't. A lot of times that just doesn't cut it. So I had basically the turkey leftovers that I was going to make broth with that I had in the freezer, like the main bones and the neck bones and all that kind of stuff. And what I did was, since I didn't have that and I thought I had chicken, is I had to pull that out of the freezer, and then I had to break it all down and cook that off, and then start making broth, and then start adding the vegetables, and that was a process. I think I started that at noon, and we just finished eating at 6, or she ate at 6. She's been in bed all week. Okay, so I've got this sort of broke up. I'm going to turn that heat back up. It was getting kind of hot. But what I've got here is I've got just a little bit of oregano. I've got a half teaspoon of salt, a teaspoon of black pepper, and a teaspoon of garlic powder. And that's all we're going to really need for in this, because this is kind of one of those dishes where you tend to layer. Things get layered up. Because we're going to also, once this is in there, it's all going to go in, and we're going to redo the seasoning again once we get this hamburger cooked down. And the other thing was, it has been absolutely horrible here today. Absolutely horrible. It's been 30-mile-an-hour winds, snow off and on. The snow hasn't accumulated, but it's just that where it's so cold that it doesn't want to snow, and it's really, really been. And before that, it rained. It's been raining for 2 or 3 days off and on, and so everything is icy, and it's just, it's been rough. It's been a rough one. I think I'm actually going to throw a little bit more oregano in there. Like I said, the oregano and stuff is all from the garden. And the oregano came out really good this year. I was really happy with that. We'll just toss in a little bit more, because I like to be able to see, you want to be able to see the oregano that's in there. Now, I didn't throw any basil in this because there's basil in the next part that I'm putting in. And I think, my personal opinion is oregano is fairly forgiving, but basil is not. And so I kind of go sparingly with the basil if I have to. This is cooking up pretty good. I like where that's going. I really like where that's going. We got the pot of water going over here. I'm trying to find my recipe list. But that's the thing with this. There's really not a whole lot of recipe to it. It's just you take your tomatoes, you take your tomatoes, your peppers, onions, garlic, and I'll go over what's in the vegetables here in just a second. And you throw in your herbs, and all we're gonna do is we're gonna bake that at 425 for 30 minutes, and then we're gonna take it out, we're gonna mash it up, we're gonna put that over some pasta, and I'm gonna have sausage with mine as well, a couple sausage links, and that's gonna be all, that's literally all there is to it. It's simple, it's easy, and I was surprised. I was really, really surprised on how flavorful of a dish this is, and not only does it taste good, but at the end of it, now usually it does, now that I say that it probably won't, but it looks amazing. It looks like something you would get at an Italian restaurant. Let's see who else we got in here. Oh, here's White Mountain Girl. Hey now, what's going on, girl? Glad to see you made it. Talk about somebody getting hit by this cold weather. She is definitely they're getting destroyed out in that part of the country, out in the Northeast, the New England areas. I do not envy you there. Now, one thing is I'm not browning the burger or any of the protein. You can use chicken with this. You can use pork. You can use beef, like straight up like beef cuts. You can use anything like that, and it all works. It will all work out. Okay, that's where I want that. Knock that off to the side. And this, like I said, I'm gonna try to do my best to keep the time down to a bare minimum, because I know Cast Iron Chaos is doing his fruitcake video tonight, and I know with a lot of the people that show up here with me show up there with him, and fruitcake has become kind of a tradition of his to do the last few years. So let me just move a couple things out of the way. Move our tomatoes out of here. Tomatoes out of the way for just a second. Those off to the side. Knife. I don't need the black pepper right now, but I do need my other bits. I'm just going to set that right there. Now most of what's in there is water. It's not really greasy. This is like an 85. It's like an 85% fat, or 85-15. That's what they told me at the butcher shop today. It was 85-15. And so there's not a lot of grease in there. But you want some kind of moisture in here because it's going to bake. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take our 2 pounds of tomatoes. And like I said, these were previously frozen. They've been sitting out. In there, and you want to kind of spread them out a little bit, but you want to get this part even. This part's the part you want even, because in a sense this is a layered dish. There we go. There we go. Just layer that out like that. Set that on there, and then I've got dehydrated, let me move this over just a smidge that way. There we go. And then what I've got here is I've got a whole green pepper, I've got a whole sweet yellow onion, and at the very bottom I have a whole bulb of the garlic I grew this year. Not a clove, but a bulb. I got the whole thing in there. And I didn't cut up the garlic, I just left it whole. And then there's a little bit of a dehydrated onion, green onion from the garden. And we'll just dump all that in. Dump that all in there. And then what I've got over on this side, and then in here I have a teaspoon of garlic powder. I have a teaspoon of oregano. I have a teaspoon of basil. I have a teaspoon of black pepper, and a half a teaspoon of red chili flakes. Just throw that in there. And we'll kind of knock that top part around. We don't need to mess with the bottom anymore, because that part is done. We'll just take and scoop that off into there. Like I said, this is going to be quick, but I still have the pasta to make, and I'm going to do that sausage. I'm going to quit messing with it. You don't need to mess with it. That's the other thing that I really like about that. You don't have to mess with anything, because the end result is we're going to mash this up. So the oven is just about to 425. I'm going to go ahead and throw the lid on this. I'm going to throw the lid on. Make sure that there's no, and there is. There always is. Oh well, I can swap this out. I forgot that I had another pan in the oven. Let me grab that out of there. I knew there was something that I was forgetting. But we'll just set that off we'll let it cool off, and we'll let it sit down. That off to the side. And we're going to stuff that in the oven for 35 minutes. So we'll go ahead and throw the timer on. 30 minutes. 35 minutes on that. Now in the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start browning the sausages. And we will get that stuff taken care of. Ooh, that pan is really in my way. Let me get a trivet down and move this thing. We'll move this trivet over here. Put this fella, put this big boy right there. Off to the side. There we go. All right, move this stuff over. See, make sure that's centered up. There we go. And just a little bit more. Move that up here. That right there. There we go. See how that's sitting? And I'll break out the sausages, and we'll get those ready to get going. And we'll get our pasta started. I got the pasta water over here getting warmed up. And turn that up to about 6. And I will be bringing out the sausages. All right, I got to get off camera here for a second. Thanks, Rick. I do too. I think that thing is fantastic. Move it over there just a little bit more. People we got watching. Oh, we got a few people watching there, don't we? So I did, like I said, I did go to the butcher shop today. And we got I opened up to see how they were. We got that. Let me throw some gloves on here real quick. Like I said, I'm moving kind of quick, because I do want to have this done. And we'll get this started. This front pan. Because we're going to get those sausages, and we're going to do those kind of low. I don't want them I don't want them all seared to death. I'm going to do them really slow so I keep the flavor in there. And I'm going to throw a little guard on here because I don't like to do my meat on this cutting board. I mean, I do it on there, but I'm going to just take the sausage links. And when I do these, they are not going to have any. They're not going to have any. I'm not going to add anything to this but olive oil. There's not going to be anything at all. It's unfortunate with this, and I haven't figured out how this works yet, but my comments don't last on here very, very long. And we're going to set out our mozzarella cheese, get that warmed up, that off to the side. And we'll just cut these up real quick. And we'll leave these in about, I don't know, what's that, about half an inch, about half-inch size. Keep them fairly uniform. I can feel that stove right next to me. That's getting pretty hot. This stuff. This is just, I love the Italian sausage that my butcher makes. They definitely have a way of doing everything down there. That. I don't want to make them too thin to where it starts oozing out of the casings. Throw that in there to start greasing that pan up. Yeah. And normally, if it were just me or people who are a fan of Italian sausages, unlike my daughter, I would just go ahead and brown those up with the hamburger. And that's definitely something you can do. Okay. Then we're just gonna throw this off to the side. Got these done. Gonna spin you over this way a little bit. There we go. Right there. There we go. Oh, that pan's cooking. Nice and hot. These favorites, I love these favorites because they're so thin. You know, they're thin, but they're sturdy, and the heavier, the more you get up there, I really, really like the favorite 9s and 8s because they're just the best of both worlds. They're not heavy like a Lodge or a Martin, but they're not so thin that they're not gonna, you know, that they sear everything. It's not just a searing pan like a lot of stuff. We'll just go ahead and throw a little more olive oil over here. There is my oven mitt. My good oven mitt. That's what I want. Always something when you always want something when you can't find it, right? But anyway, I'll stretch here in front of the camera. Spin this around. That olive oil in and around in there. There we go. And I'm not going to add anything to it because we've got garlic powder in the hamburger meat, and a good amount. We've got a whole clove in the whole pot. We've got a whole bulb. So what we don't need is more garlic. And like I said, that was the one thing about this recipe that is really nice, is that there's not a lot to it. There's not a lot of cutting to it. There's not a lot of anything. And even when I do the fresh herbs in the summertime, I don't do anything but cut them off, wash them. I cut them straight off in like the stem and all, and I just break everything off the stem, just run it off there and throw it right in there. There's no chopping, there's no anything. Go ahead and start throwing these in there. There we go. That sizzle. But I don't want it to get too hot. I'm trying to keep it down to a dull roar. And what a handy size these 6s are. They're just, you know, it's not something you might want to make a steak in or something like that, but you just got a couple pork loin chops or anything like that, or you just want to do this. The sixes are so handy. Pie, you could make a pie in that, or a cake. That's your standard cake size. You see who I was getting in here. Oh, William Hurt. Hey man, how are you doing? Hope everybody's not getting as affected by this cold weather as we are here in the Midwest and Northeast. Because it has just been, it's been nothing but brutal these past few days. And it wasn't really bad. I was actually getting kind of spoiled on over the weekend. It wasn't too bad at all. It was pretty nice. It was real sunny and not a lot of any kind of bad weather. It was actually pretty mild. It's starting to dry up a little bit. But yeah, and we will serve this over pasta. Oh, good. Corey Clark, I'm frozen. Oh man. Corey, what part of the country are you in? You don't have to say the exact place, but just wondering where everybody's at. Let's see. Rick, it's been 25 all night, 56 during the day. Yeah, I think right now I'm at, I think the last time I looked it was 13 degrees, and it was, the wind chill was 5 degrees outside. It's not ideal. And then one of the other things, I'm going to grab this. I've got some mozzarella cheese. This was one of the logs that it comes pre-sliced, and I'm just going to break that down. And then when we get to right around, I'd say 5 minutes or so before it's time to take it out, I'm gonna open the lid up and take a look at it, and we'll start dropping in. We'll drop in the mozzarella cheese, so this will be nice and ooey gooey. Yeah. Yeah, it's cold. Southeast Nebraska. I don't know much about Nebraska. I think I've been through Nebraska going to Texas, but I've never had a reason to actually be in Nebraska. Probably get a lot of terrible weather there. Let's see how these are. So they're still kind of stuck, so I'm just going to leave them alone and let them go through their paces. And it doesn't look like we have any rookies here, so I won't have to go into the whole thing of, if it's still kind of stuck, then it hasn't cooked. Or like that part. I think I'm going to bump that up just a smidge. Granny Graham. Wow, look at everybody showing up. Ronald Coward. I like it. I like it. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button, guys. This might be my all-time record. But it's not quantity, it's quality for me. And like I said, I'm doing this channel, it's not for views. I really want to get views and I really want to get subscribers, but my thing overall is, this is for my kids. This is for one day, this will be some kind of documentation of the cast iron that I have, that I use, the recipes that I make, and that's why I do it. I mean, if I can get a bunch of subscribers, yeah, that'd be fantastic. If everybody wanted to show up every week and I could make a thing out of doing one of the things that I really love to do, which is collect cast iron and restore cast iron, I would do that. But that's not my motivation. My motivation is so my kids know what I have. They get to see the recipes. And that's my motivation behind it. And I really like the folks. You know, there's a few motivations. You know, I like everybody. I like seeing everybody. You know, I know back, I guess it's probably 4 years ago, when I started getting online, and I really found out that this was a hobby. I didn't know this was a hobby that other people had. I got into cast iron in a really bizarre way. I've grown up with cast iron. I had a few pieces of cast iron, but about 10 years ago, I was at work, and I worked with a guy who was a picker, and he asked me, because he said something about cast iron. I told him about, I was cleaning cast iron up, one of my pans up, and he said, "What do you know about cast iron?" And I said, "Well, I know how to clean it. I know how to get the rust off of it." And he had a couple boxes of cast iron, and he said, he had a booth at a shop, and he needed somebody to clean up this box of cast iron that he had. And I said I would do that, because I was more motivated by the money to do it than anything, and I sort of made up a price and gave it to him. And in the very end of it, he said, "Hey, if you want, just pick one out. Pick out one of these skillets if you want it." And I was also on a quest to make a really good egg and have a really good egg pan. And so I picked out my unmarked Wagner number 6, and kept that out of there and started using that on the daily. Loved how it cooked. And then I went to his shop, which was not very far from where I lived. I went to the antique mall where he had his shop, I should say. And I went in there and I saw how much this stuff was going for. And I'm like, wow, I wonder what mine's worth. So I did some digging and I took some pictures, and lo and behold, I had a 60s unmarked Wagner. And the rest is history. I've been collecting ever since. Collecting and restoring. And it was kind of one of those weird things too, where I restored for him, and when I brought in the cast iron to my coworker, somebody else said, "Hey, I've got this big skillet, that needs to be redone. Will you do it?" And I took that one home and I redid that one, and I took it back to somebody else. And then my neighbor in my yard, my neighbor saw me doing it and said, "Hey, what are you doing?" And I said, "I'm just restoring these cast iron pans." And I live in Wagner country, Wagner, Pickwood, Wapak country, and so I had a lady who lived next door to me, whose husband had worked at Wagner, and she said, "Would you be interested in a couple pans that I haven't used in 25 years?" And I said I sure would. And then I got her pans, bought a unmarked chicken fryer from her, and a Wagner 6. I was actually going to use the Wagner number 6 tonight, but it was dusty, needed rinsed off, and this one was the other number 6 right next to it. So I grabbed that one. It was dusty. I didn't feel like wiping it off, and I was running behind, like I said earlier. See how these are coming on the side. But yeah. And those little pans that I had. Those little pans that I had, that Wagner, which was a flat bottom from one of the 35 to 57 series flat bottom Wagners, and it was really cool because that was her husband who worked at Wagner. That was one of his wedding presents that he gave to the lady that I bought him off of, his wife, Phyllis. And the other one was an unmarked chicken fryer. And that was one that when they got married, he had given to her mother, Phyllis's mother, as kind of like a dowry kind of present. Back in the 50s, in the 50s. I mean, that was a long time ago that they got married. I mean, good 70 some years ago. Phyllis was up there in age. Great woman, miss her. but I have earth pans, and that's how I got started. And that was my very first Wagner pan that I got for myself. Was that pan there. Okay, I'm gonna let these sit here a second. I got the water going, and I'm at about 16 minutes until the pasta is done, or until I put through the pasta. The water is rolling, got a little boil going next to me. Yeah, cast ironitis, it's a real thing. I mean, I think before I thinned out, when I had my shoulder surgery last year, I thinned out about 20 extra pans to make room. 20 that I wish I'd never gotten rid of, but yeah, cast ironitis is a real thing. But that was the thing, and the more I restored stuff for people, I guess I kind of got off on a tangent, but the more I restored for people, I would look up what they had. I went to the library and got I think it was the Blue Book, and I would just keep going and taking this Blue Book out. Like every time that it would come back, I would go back to the library and take it back for a day, and then I'd go back and check it back out for 30 days. And that's how I learned about cast iron. And I just started, like I said, I've just restored, and I haven't restored as much this past year, but I've got about 10 more pans around here I think that need to be done. I've got a few that I'm really wanting to use. I've got some Martins that I want to get done. I just have one Martin, but I'm really excited to get that one going because I really want to try cooking with it. Oh wow, Corey, that's cool, man. That's really cool. Like I said, I didn't know it was a thing. I had no idea it was a thing. My very first piece that I ever got, I've got a 16-inch gate mark round griddle with a bale, and I bought that in 1996 at the Kenton, Ohio Coon Dog Races, and that is a real thing. The Kenton Coon Dog Races is a real thing where people come from. It was the national, and it was a wild thing back in the day. And that was one I bought, and I used it. I've always used it for camping, and I used to make the kids their cookies and pizzas on, and I still have that over there. I don't use it as much now that I have that big Lodge pizza pan, because I'm afraid I'm going to crack it. But that was the first piece I bought in 1996. So, and then I have some Lodge, and I've got some stuff that I got from my mom, but I honestly didn't know people did that. I didn't even know they were around. Let me get a spatula and see how these are doing. I don't want them burning. Also don't want that. Let me get rid of this. Let me get rid of these, my little my cutting board cover. Break out a spatula. I've got the guitar spatula over there. Yeah, I was a little before the COVID craze. I think it was 2016. Well, maybe 2015, because I remember that when I started to get into it, I saw the Lodge Heritage Pan that up until literally about 6 months ago I thought was a Wildlife series, because when I got it, it didn't have a label on the inside. I bought it from a restaurant supply store as a closeout pan. This is before they reissued them again, and I was like, man, if I just had one of those, my 16-inch round griddle, these couple other little pans, and I bought when Cast Iron Chaos has one like it too, but the 7.5 quart double Dutch oven, the enameled red ones, I got one of those, and I thought, man, that's all I need. That's all I need. But then I saw the Buffalo Nickel skillet, and I was like, wow, I really want one of those. And I thought if I had those, then I'm cool. I don't need anything else. Yeah, that was, and I grew up, my mom, I've got her cast iron now. And, you know, I've got my mom's fajita pan, her Wagner sizzle skillet, and a couple other ones I can't think of right off the top of my head what I've got. But, yeah, I just started picking it up. And I was kind of getting it before the kind of everybody got on board with doing that. Oh, I got to put this pasta in. We'll swing that over here. Swing over there. Let me see if we're at that point. So we can see no, that's a little too far. You don't need to see where my dog eats. You don't need to see where the dog's eating. And we'll throw the pasta in there. Get a good look at how that's going. I'm surprised the dog isn't, speaking of the dog, I'm surprised the dog's not out here being a complete terror. And this is about 2 cups of pasta, and I'm not going to use all that because I'm not going to use, what was it, 4 cups? Yeah, so I put about 2 cups in there, and that's all I'm going to put in is that. Let me put this back out of the way. Yeah, I've got about 10 minutes until this is going. Let's see what time it is. Because I kind of want to see, I kind of like the fruitcake episode of Cast Iron Chaos myself. I generally do. I don't catch all of his shows, but I catch a lot of them. And I started watching when he started, I mean, I remember when he started doing them when COVID hit. Oh shoot, that's boiling over. Don't boil over. Where's my, I don't need the lid on that yet. That's the other thing. Put my spoon on the top. Keep that from thing. That's sticking up. And we will throw a little olive oil into the water. I know people say don't do it, but I'm gonna do it. I'm going against the grain, folks. Yep. My sausage is looking pretty done, and I'm gonna take that out and see if I have. I'm just gonna use one of these other bowls over here. I'm gonna put a little bit of. I'm gonna give that another minute. Some of these are looking done, and some of them aren't. A few minutes. But yeah, I didn't do anything to this. I didn't do anything to the sausage other than olive oil. And plus the Italian sausage that I use from the butcher, it's really spicy. It has a lot of good flavor to it. A lot of good flavor. So I don't have to dress it up too much. And it seems like the mozzarella cheese, that's kind of, it's not warm, but it's still, it's not refrigerator cold. And that's what I want to. Because after I mash up the sauce, after I use the masher to mash the sauce, then it's going to be really close to being done. I should get out a strainer real quick because I don't think I left my strainer out from earlier when I made my first batch of noodles today. I made egg noodles today for the turkey noodle soup. The turkey noodle soup, I know I'm messing with it a lot. But yeah, I made pasta noodles earlier for the turkey soup. But yeah, we'll throw that mozzarella in right after I mash it. We'll put that in there. We'll let it sit because this pasta is going to be, the pasta sauce is going to be burning hot. It's going to be super hot. But you don't want to take the lid off of it. You don't want to do anything to it. I'm hoping that it all turns out okay, which it should. It usually does every time, but that's I don't always do live either, so turn this just a little bit more. These are frying up pretty well. There we go. Yeah, this one's nice and browned up, a little bit of color. And I'll get a colander so I can take these noodles off. Put that in the sink. here. Look at that here. I love the boat oars. Yeah. I don't have anything big enough to warrant a boat oar to cook. I know the Smoking Bears just had, he just got a boat oar for one of his projects the other day. I mean, Cast Iron Chaos could probably use a boat oar, that's for sure. I'm going to take this sausage off. That's done. We'll just put it in one of these. These are definitely done. I can tell that without even, I don't even have to get the temperature probe out for them. And we'll set these off to the side. And I'm gonna toss mine in with the rest of that. And that really bugs me that I can't find my oven mitt. That is super bugging me. Because I just had, it's probably sitting there, sitting out in the middle of everything. But I've got other ones, so I'll just grab a different one. I just don't like these as well as the one I normally use. And we'll set that off to the side and kind of wipe that little spot up. Get that spot, keep these spots clean. Trying to read the comments too. Yeah, Smoking Bears, if you're still in the chat, I can't remember what you said you were using that paddle for. Pasta's coming along fine. I used rigatoni. I really like rigatoni with this recipe. That or a shell, something that kind of holds your pasta sauce, because it's in a way it's thin, but in a way it's chunky. Especially if you use the fresh herbs, unlike I did. But I'm hoping is that it's good and there's a lot of moisture in there. I want it to be a really wet sauce. Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, sorry man, I just kind of escaped me there for a second. What you used it for. But it was cool. I thought that was definitely neat. Pasta going, and I've got 3 minutes left on what's in the oven, and once I do that, I'm gonna get a plate out so I can plate this stuff up, and I'm gonna use a knife and I'm gonna use a fork and a spoon and everything. There's my darn mitt. There's my mitt. There. I don't like these. I'm not a big fan of these Lodge. I'm not a big fan of these. Was that in the shot? Because that silver stuff on the inside in the very beginning, I've got pans where it left them silver. And it's never ever went away. So I like that one. I like my baseball glove one. That's the one I like to use. So I'm actually a little ahead of schedule, and I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I'm going to have with this. I wanted to make croutons to go in it, but I didn't. Like I said, with the kids being sick today, the kiddo being sick, and having to, and then my instincts kicked in to not have her to make some soup. I didn't have time to make the croutons, and I was going to make really big croutons. That was kind of my goal for the day. But I wonder how I'm doing on time. Let's see. Okay, we got about 8 minutes till Cast Iron Chaos is scheduled to come on. Is he still doing his tonight? Has anybody seen? Oh wow, I didn't know they had those, Rick. That's pretty cool. Yeah, leather's the way to go. They just go on so much. Once they're broke in, they go in so easy. Those Lodge ones, I know I've said this before, but these Lodge ones, they are pricey. They're over $20 a pop, probably 25 bucks a piece. And I've got a couple of them. I don't know where the other one is. I think it's in the garage where I cook in the garage out there. But that's the one that usually never leaves the stove area, that I've been using since I went to Cornbread Festival in 2022. So this is going to pan out, hopefully, when I take the lid off this. Generally, that's all I need. That 425 is about 35 minutes for this, and we are in the home stretch. We're at 10 seconds, so I'm just going to go ahead and turn that off. We're going to turn the oven off, and I'm going to grab some mitts that aren't for a cast iron skillet. And we're going to take these out. Ooh, that's hot. That is a hot one. See how quick? That's quick. And oh yeah, that's what you want, right? That's exactly what you want. Let's move that over. That's right what you want to have. That's exactly. And then we'll just take a masher. Oh, I'm going to turn this off. I don't need that on anymore. And we are just going to take a masher. I'd like to have a silicone masher for this, but we all want something. And if you can, I don't know if I'll give you a good look at that. And then what we're going to want to do is just start mashing everything together. I have a potato masher, but I really don't want to use it in my enamelware. We're just going to give that a good mash. This is the hardest part of the whole thing, is mashing this stuff up. And it's a little lighter because the tomatoes that I'm using today were the last round of the season, and I had to pull those off right before the first frost, so they aren't a deep red. And if I would have been looking at now, normally if I wouldn't have been doing it live, and yeah, there's no carrots in my pasta sauce. I didn't put any carrots in the pasta sauce. You can put whatever you want in this though. And if I would have checked it about 10 minutes ago, like as I said, if I wouldn't have been doing it live and checked this 10 minutes ago, I would have taken the lid off. It's a little more watery than I normally have it, but that's okay. It really is okay, because it's going to. This smells, oh my gosh, this smells so good. Gonna move this around. Yeah, if you have a silicone masher, this works out a lot better. But anything with a lid anything with a lid. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna want to take this off, and I'm just gonna drop that right over top of that. That's not gonna hurt nothing. And I'm gonna start sprinkling this Parmesan cheese on there. And we'll give that a minute or two. Got kind of warmer than I wanted it to. Over there. We're gonna put that in there, and I'll stir that around too. We're not done. Not exactly done in the process. And we'll just give that a little through the middle. I could have used a little more pastas, or a little more mozzarella, but that's okay. Now I'm going to drain my pasta because it is done, and we'll start plating this up. Hopefully we don't lose anybody before the reveal. Drop this pasta. I'll throw a little bit of, I'm going to drop just a little bit of olive oil on that. Just a smidge of olive oil. It doesn't do much. There we go. Throw this into here. And we'll serve this. This is ready to be served up. And we're good to go. So we'll bring it over to the plate. There we go. And we'll break out a spoon. Break out the Hobbit spoon here for this one. Put a little pasta down. I'll toss a little bit of the Italian sausage into there for myself. I'll put as much, or I'm just going to put them all in there. There you go. A little bit of pasta, and I'll move around because I have a huge light stand in my way. We good there? Throw the pasta sauce on the top of that. There we go. And Viola. Cool kids, we are done. And that's all there is to it. You have that's Italian weekday sauce. And normally we only have a minute left before chaos comes on. Yeah, that's what I had to. Radagast, I was saying earlier, my daughter doesn't like sausage, Italian sausage, so I did them separate. But because normally I use 50-50, but hopefully we can get a piece and show you. Look at that! Look at that pull that you get with all that mozzarella, with those big chunks of mozzarella in there. That is just, that's fantastic. And that's exactly what you want. Like I said, usually it's a little more red, but that's because the tomatoes were not as ripe as I'd like them. And I don't add Parmesan cheese to this. There's just no need for it with all the cheese. And you can put a lot more mozzarella in there. I just didn't want to go too much mozzarella in it because I didn't. When you make stuff like this, sometimes every batch is a little bit different, especially when you're using home-produced stuff. Home-produced, like your vegetables and your herbs and everything. So everything's just a little bit different, but this is really the consistency that you want. This is exactly what you want in this thing. And I really wish I'd have made those big croutons because it definitely needs some bread. Oh, that's, I'm telling you right now. Let me get a little bit of that pasta in there too. But this is fantastic. And you saw how small those pieces were that I had in there of the cheese. It's just you get that lucky shot, that lucky piece of cheese. You get your, look at that. I mean, you can't even get that. That's like pizza. All right. There we go. And that is Italian weekday sauce. When you can use any kind of tomatoes you want, but if you've got a cherry tomato garden like I did this past summer, and you had 400 or 500 cherry tomatoes laying around, this is a hell of a good way to get rid of them. And I make this once a week in the summer, and nobody ever seems to get tired of it. All right, it's 8 o'clock. I know Cast Iron Chaos is coming on, so I'm going to let everybody go. I appreciate everybody showing up. We'll probably do this again next Thursday at about the same time. So you guys come on back. Please subscribe, hit the like button and the notification bell so you know exactly when the lives start. And I think next week I'm going to do my recipe for really easy taco meat. So I hope you guys show up for that too. But hey, I'll see you guys in the comment section in just a couple minutes. All right, talk to you later. See ya.